What does that mean? Okay. Yeah, that's what it means. Exactly right. Don't you understand what okay means? Okay. Language is strange, isn't it? I say okay when I mean something else. Listen up! That kind. Now, why did I? Oh, good story about now. Good story about now. Second day of the Amherst training, 1980. There's Moshe teaching in the room. And he suddenly realizes, duh, if you ever read the Amherst transcripts and try to edit out all the times he says now, duh, how long did it take him to realize how many times he says now? So then he suddenly goes, oh, I say now, and I'm spoiling the recordings by the how many times I say now. So when you hear me say now, stop me because I want to stop spoiling these recordings. Now, now there is nothing worse as a conversational killer, and we'll come back to this tomorrow. There's nothing worse that as a conversational killer that someone telling you, do you know you always start your sentences by saying now? And suddenly you become self-conscious and the flow of conversation just goes, that's what happens, right? So there's times to practice and then there's times to just be in conversational flow. What will come out of my mouth now? And, and I need your assistance with something. There's a little story up here. I've made a note for myself, but even though I make notes, I still forget. So in case I don't tell this story at exactly 4:20, you let me know, okay? Because I really want to tell you that story. What are the balloons for? Oh, well, yeah. Hopefully not in their latter state, because their latter state will be looking something like this. Okay, and no. But yes, it's good. I'm aware of the divide between you and me, and that's fine. That's okay. You can stay where you are. This is like a little bit of bubble and squeak. You know when you have stuff in the fridge and you just chuck it into a pan and you just do bubble and squeak? Yeah, it's a bit like that. I've got a few things on my mind. There's a few things that would be nice to tie up and then lead into the next day. What I don't really want it to be is uber serious. So that's why you have the balloons, so that it's not uber serious. But the balloons are there for a reason. And I'm not going to tell you what it is yet. But some of you are already guessing. Who would like to volunteer to stand up right in the middle there and blow up their balloon, but not to the point of bursting? Any volunteers? Front and center. Yay! We can have 2 volunteers. You want to come up? You're very brave. That's good. I would never volunteer for anything like this. All right. So, are you looking closely? Go for it. You blow up the balloons. So, what was it? Sequence, path, initiation. Go ahead. Oh, beautiful. Yeah, a bit more. A bit more. Wonderful. That's great. Very nice. Very nice. See, harmless. It's harmless being up front and center. Thank you. You may depart. Someone else. Oh, what the heck. Yeah. Yeah, good German way of blowing up balloons, yeah? Now that was a conversation. Yeah, wasn't that? Thank you again. Another two, just two more, unless you're really itching. Just two more people. Come on up the front. Come with me. Come with me. Come on. Yeah. Woo! We have spares. Yeah. I went cheap quality. Off you go. Nice. Okay. Beautiful. Thank you again. Ah, yes. That's another demonstration that we'll do in a moment. What did you see? Oh, excellent. Great. I saw that too. That's wonderful. That's a beautiful quality. Did you see anybody blowing up the balloon flexing? No, no one flexed. Did you see that? No one did. No one did this. No one did that. A lot of people do that when they blow up a balloon. Could it be, this is a hypothesis, could it be that out of these lessons that you've been doing about breathing and everything else, you have somehow acquired the unique ability to blow up a balloon while being vertical? Is that a commentary on my... Yes, it is. Of course it is. Yeah. Now, it was, but you can be... So does that make sense? A lot of people, when they try to expel air, will expel air... It's good. Will try to expel air by flexing themselves. And you've learned that that's not necessary. However, we never did the before and after experiment, so we'll never know. So another thing that some of you have already done, and I've done, so you know Newton's law? Nothing moves without a force. Yeah? You need a force to make something move. And for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. I don't know whether that's... Yeah, that's one of the laws. Well, this is an example of how pressure can propel, right? So there's pressure in this balloon. You let it go. And elastic forces. So please try that experiment and see if it's true for you. I can't believe I'm doing this. Is Newton's law true? Or is it a fizzer? That's right. That's right. Okay. Beautiful. You could, and you could prove again and again and again and again. Are you telling me I've letting out hot air? Okay, third thing to do with the balloon. An anatomical analogy that's from physics, of course. So one quality that we haven't talked about and we haven't mentioned about the lungs is that as an organ, they are an elastic structure. So for the lung to expand, something must pull on it to expand the lung. It has to. So dangle the balloon in front of you and say, expand. Or if you're into Harry Potter, what would be the Expandoramus? Come on, expand. You can beg. You can command. It will not do it. You have to exert a force to expand it. So could you find out how many directions could you expand this balloon in? Is it expandable just in one direction or multiple directions? So this is learning through direct experience, yes? Direct experience. You just go, you pull on it, and you go, yeah, look, goes every way, doesn't it? Don't have to hypothesize around it. And, oh, another one, potential energy. When energy has been imparted to, no, I won't. I'm not that kind of guy. When energy has been imparted to something that's elastic, it's temporarily stored and then it releases. Yeah. Well, what's the impact of that? Why don't you try the impact on yourself? What did you learn in your Feldenkrais training? Yay! Yeah. Okay. So now we know. Oh, what happened? It's a sad tale, and I can acknowledge it. So you've experienced that you need to impart force to stretch this, and you've learned that when you release, it bounces back. That's the definition of elasticity. So when you're breathing, during which cycle do you need to work? Where is the work in breathing? Yeah. The muscles must contract for you to breathe in. Absolutely, absolutely true. When you're really desperate to get air out, do you have to work? Why? Sorry, how come? Not allowed to use the Y word. How come? Thank you. Why? Yeah, great. You want it to happen faster than the elastic forces will do. So you actually push it out. Yep. So now let's go back to the balloon and what you did initially, which is you expanded in all directions, but you're using your own air to do it, right? That means the pressure here that you've got in here to blow in is greater than the pressure in here, and this expands. Well, that's how air enters your lungs. You create the space, and the pressure in the atmosphere is greater than the pressure inside your lungs because you've increased the volume, and it just goes. Yeah? Here you're pushing it in, slightly different, but you still get the expansion. And then if you want to let it out, good. And now we can do a little bit of singing. I'm not sure what the diversity will be, and I think it's mostly sopranos. Any perfect pitch people in here? What's the note? It's changing? Damn. Welcome to the Feldenkrais crash. All right. So we're not, this segment around, we're not doing anything with voice in particular, but somewhere down the line, we'll invite someone to lead you through some voice work, because that's making use of the air that you're expelling to actually make a quality of sound through which you can influence people. Yeah. So that's one thing we'll do. Okay. One more thing you can do with this weird balloon. Actually, I'm sure you could think of more. I'll leave the floor open. So if you have any great ideas between, could you please tuck the balloon around your index finger? Now you know what I do in my apartment all night. Yeah? Now, hold the balloon at that end and give it a bit of a squeeze, and you should feel the pressure on the skin of your finger. Can you feel that? Yeah? Now, if you rest your hand here and relax it, and if you pay really close attention up here to your shoulder, you'll feel that the pressure of the balloon actually moves your arm all the way up to the shoulder. You're squeezing the end of the balloon. Yeah. Sorry about that. If you've run out of air, you have to blow it up a bit. Yeah, if you squeeze, so, now you know why you have to go slow in Feldenkrais, because if you go too fast, all the air escapes. Yeah? If you try too hard, you'll just push out the air. But if you go really gradually, you'll feel the pressure on your finger will get pushed, your hand will get pushed, your wrist will get pushed, your forearm will get pushed, and your shoulder will get pushed. You know, this is a graduation exam at the end of the training, don't you? For all you serious people like me, bear with it. It's okay. It won't last very long. Yeah, can you feel that? Can some of you feel that? If the ideal scenario is if you were in a swimming pool and your arm was floating, you would really feel it. That's the Weber-Fechner principle. The Weber-Fechner principle. The Weber-Fechner principle, right? Okay, do I need to say it anymore? All right. So you've done that, you've done that. Yes? Yeah. Puppetry is not a prerequisite for this course. Okay. Now, I would invite you to head off to the bathroom and fill up your balloon. Sue, you have been hanging around blokes too long. No. I was a boring kid. Oh, no, no, no. Okay, so could you please go to the bathroom, fill up your balloon this much, and when you come back, could you please clear this area of floor space? No, the whole thing. Just in case of accidents. I've learned from the past. Last time I did this, it was on a. No, I did it very differently. It wasn't as free ranging as this. It was far more controlled, as per me. No, no, don't do it. Huh? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and don't squeeze it as tight. So you know when we let go of the balloon and it went, yeah. But when you actually do this, you go, yeah. So it's all got to do with the tightness of the. I don't know. Some people's bladders. Absolutely, and the tensioning in the amount of tension in the yeah, that's exactly what it does. It's exactly what it does. That's okay. You didn't have much for lunch. Oh, cold. All right. Okay, how we doing? How we doing? Over here, please. You can throw it on the wooden floor. Okay. Here's my proposition. This kind of elastic container that you have here represents your abdominal wall. Yep, your abdominal wall. Because most of the time, your abdominal muscles are what? Tonified. Yep. They've got tone in them. Some of our muscles are more less tonified than others. But basically, this water in here represents your viscera. And so if you mishmash this balloon around, that would be like your abdominal muscles squeezing the viscera around. And what do you hear? Slosh, 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 slosh. Yeah? You must have eaten too much. So here's another way of thinking about it. Have your right hand close. This is me now getting. Have your right hand closer to you. Have your left hand further away. Hold. Actually, why don't you hold the balloon with the little stringy bit out? Yep. And then, if your right hand is your chest, squeeze the chest. Where does the water go? Squeeze the balloon. Where does the water? Squeeze the left hand. Where does the water go? So this is what you're doing the first week. This is your seesaw breathing. Yeah? Seesaw, 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 seesaw. Yeah? If only the camera was on that. Yeah. Now, I think it's very good. Now, I think we played Moshe's tape for that lesson. And in a moment, at a particular moment in that lesson, he says if you go really fast, you'll hear something flip-flopping around. Well, it's not really the diaphragm, it's the contents of your tummy. And that's what you hear here, right? If you go fast enough, you'll hear the sloshing of the contents of the balloon. Great. Okay. Listen. Good. Now, what would happen? You can see. What would happen if you dip this balloon very quickly into liquid nitrogen, not so long that the water froze, but long enough for the balloon to become stiff and not supple, and then you went to squeeze it? What would happen to the balloon? It'd shatter. Yeah. It'd be too brittle to do all this hydraulics with. Yeah. Now, thankfully, we're not built like that, but we can really contract our abdomen so hard that, please don't burst your balloon. But so now hold this hand really stiff down below, like it's a container, and then try to press the balloon into it, and you'll feel how the balloon will want to squeeze out at some place or other. It will find the weakest point. Yeah? So find a way of holding the balloon that it can't escape. And what you'll feel, it presses into your hand. It really does. Yeah? So if all of this is super hard, like your Arnie Schwarzenegger ripped up, right? If this is super hard and it can't expand, your organs are in for a hard time. They're going to be squeezed and you'll get constipated and all sorts of nasty things, right? Here's a video, just a little thing I dug up on YouTube, as is my wont. He is a full balloon. No, this... this is the old knock the bottle, bottom of the bottle trick. He's going to knock out the bottom of this bottle by hitting the open end. Now, the trick totally relies on this, that when you fill up the bottle, you know when you fill up a glass of water and it gets that little dome on top of it? The bottle is absolutely full. And then you have to hit it really square on with a bit of velocity. Yep. And this is, you'll see it real time and then slowed down. I picked him because you can believe that he has no special skills, right? Well, you're the guys that made those things up with the billboards and whatever. Okay, so here we go. Yep, it's happened already. He's knocked the bottom of the bottle out. Boof. Notice that the bottle doesn't shatter. The bottom comes out because that's where the angle is. That's where the angle changes. So it's weakest at the bottom. It's a glass bottle. There's another video of a... oh, no. There's another video of some guy, I think he's a karate guy, going for the world record, but I didn't know what and he just goes bang, bang, one bottle after another. So this is what happens. The bottom of that bottle is your poor pelvic floor. Yeah? If this is rock hard and you're squeezing down, your poor little pelvic floor is going to go, which is often called prolapse. Not good. So this whole area is designed, I've hit on the word so, yeah. This whole area is designed to be flexible, responsive to hydraulic pressures. It's capable of stiffening when it needs to. Clue, when you're doing the 5 winds kata, Yeah. When you're doing the 5 winds kata, this needs to stiffen. If it doesn't stiffen, some part goes forward and the rest goes back. And we'll look at this on Friday. Yeah. Now, do we have an ATM that gives you this kind of an idea? Have you done any ATM that involves moving yourself around using the pressures here? I'll give you an example. Yeah, I can use him. I played with him before. I'm not going to put the balloon where you think I'm going to put it, but if I even put it here against the scapula, which is nice and flat, right? Yeah. Now this is fairly well balanced. It's ready to move. And I just squeeze on the balloon and it pushes. It pushes. And if I get the oscillations just right, the amplitude will increase and increase and it'll push more. Now, that means your viscera can transmit force inside your body. Do you know any lessons where you move yourself by squeezing your viscera? Would you like to demonstrate? Yeah. Yeah. Any others? Yeah. Yeah. So think of what you're about to do now as an application of what we've been talking about. Okay? And we won't do a full ATM. We'll just use the movements as a way of giving an example to this. Now, some of you probably think this is a weird way of teaching things, but this was my first somatic tradition, if you like, that I learned in idiokinesis, where you would use imagery to suggest, to try to make sense of the mechanics that can be quite complex. So how do you simplify mechanics and make it accessible to anybody, even kids and adults who are willing to just disrobe their seriousness for a little while? Yeah, you can make it, and this is where this comes from. Please. Are you ready to clean it up? No, not me, not me. Just put the jewels gently on the floor. And actually, Gloria, can we do something with you? No, we're not throw the balloon, not throw the balloons at you. No. Can we do something with you? Would you mind? Would you mind? Okay, but let's can we go on to where's somewhere nice and soft? Yeah, here will do. Here, no, actually, can we use this black one here? Somewhere nice and soft, because I don't want you to be bumped. No, it's not. No, there won't be any water involved. Would you mind sitting in the middle of this? Would you mind sitting in the middle of this, please? Just sit there. It's a nice cross. Yes. Could someone take hold of that corner? Could someone take hold of that corner? Can someone take hold of this corner? And could you all take hold a little part of the blanket, please? Everybody's a little part of the blanket. Don't be a hog. Now, if you all take a step backwards at the same time, she goes up. And if you take a step in at the same time, she goes down. Do that a few times until you're perfectly coordinated. Okay, now here's the suggestion. This is a very serious inquiry. I want a 5,000-word essay at the end. How would you need to move Gloria to represent laughing? And a sneeze. Good. Gloria, I'm sorry to say this, but you suggested the vomit word. A vomit. Hey, all right. That's cool. That's great. Thank you very much, Gloria. There was a set of researchers up in Queensland University. Oh, I'm gone into serious mode. Okay. There's a group of researchers up in Queensland University that had done some great studies. Unfortunately, they had to sacrifice pigs to do it. It's always unfortunate to kill animals to do research, but that's what they did. And the most marvelous thing that they found, and I would dare say if you asked yogis from years ago, they would have told you, yes, of course, but now they know because they've done the experiments, that unless the diaphragm, the pelvic floor diaphragm is fully functional, then the diaphragm's not fully functional. And if the diaphragm's not fully functional and the pelvic floor not fully, then the whole abdominal area and transversus abdominis is not fully functional. There's this balance between these three places. A dysfunction in one causes a dysfunction in the other. So as you start to practice this whole business of sucking in the abdomen, pushing out the abdomen, sucking in the abdomen, if you can't do it, do you keep on persisting with what you can't do here, or do you start to go, oh, maybe I'm doing something with my pelvic floor? Is there something I could do there? Is there something I could do with this transversus abdominis? So you don't attack the problem directly. Where is the difficulty? You go to somewhere else until everything is in balance. It was a wonderful piece of research. And the other thing that they came out with, do you know about them, Kat? There's I was at a dance conference 2007, and he was the keynote speaker. It was a great presentation about core. I'll dig it up, but I don't. Yeah, I can. Yeah. There was a series of papers, and he said something. If you really want to get these three in balance, you know how to do it. Just get a little way. Go, lift your arms up in front, put them down with little weights. And he said what was remarkable when they did it in a clinical scenario is these three parts just balanced out beautifully. And I was really impressed. And I never walk up to anybody who's a keynote speaker and I said, oh, that was so good. Do you know about Feldenkrais? He says, yeah. I said, that's really functional thinking. He said, yeah. So this thing that we practice in this method is not unique, but it is a very particular kind of thinking. Yeah. Pelvic floor, diaphragm, transversus abdominis, which is the deepest layer that kind of wraps in this way, horizontally. Yeah. Yeah, it just does that. Because when you lift, you probably know better than I do. Do you know better than I do? Beautiful. In order to lift your arms up here, if you didn't do any adjustments, where would you go? You'd fall forward because you're changing where the distributions of weight are. So in anticipation of that, your body goes adjust here, adjust here, adjust here, adjust here, adjust the breathing, and you're able to cope with it. And was that a good explanation for the words? Yeah.
Like your TA, even if you just go to tap a finger, that there is, a small degree of preparation here.
Yeah, this whole business when you're breathing rhythmically, that would be an interesting piece to do. Yeah. What? Yeah. It's fascinating when you look at there's cross links between research information and the kinds of stuff that he come up with. It's pretty cool. Yeah. So my invitation to you now is to find a carpeted piece of floor, or else your poor sacrum will cop a bashing on that. Just find yourself a carpeted piece of floor. And as I said, this is not an awareness through movement lesson. This is something to play around with and something to kind of summarize what we've been talking about a little bit. Bend both of your legs, put the soles of your feet together, as Feldenkrais likes to say, as if for clapping. I'd like to see an audience. You know, for about 5 years, I worked as an usher at the Sydney Opera House, and I would have loved to see that. Yeah, so put your feet as if for clapping. You're lying on your back. And now I'm going to say everything wrong. Do not push your feet into the floor. Do not push your shoulders into the floor. Do not contract your abdomen. Do not lift your head. In other words, don't do anything intentionally to press against the floor. And please roll your pelvis towards your feet. And come back. Just do that several times. Now you've all held that balloon in your hand and squeezed on it so that it sloshes forwards and backwards and forwards and backwards. Could you find a way of rocking your pelvis with that idea in mind? Leave your feet on the floor. Yeah, feet on floor. Could you use the whole abdomen to somehow, like toothpaste, squeeze the viscera down into the bowl of the pelvis? Let the pelvic floor expand. Don't try to hold it in. And use that to press the pelvic bones and roll the pelvis. Continue, but make one little variation. Take your fingertips, find your pubic bone, the very middle, and now separate the fingers by about a hand width. And have the fingers on the abdomen right down low near your pubic bone. So that's a very particular part of this balloon. Could you now use your abdomen to squeeze the viscera down into your fingers and then just release? Squeeze into your fingers and release. So it's just like the balloon. Except now, this is a coordination of muscles. Squeeze, release. Squeeze, release. We'll be coming back to this, so it's just the beginning of something. And try this out. The next time you go to squeeze your abdominal contents towards your fingers, could you take it more towards the fingers of the right hand? Less into the left, more into the right. Yeah. So your fingers are down near the pubic bone, about a hand width apart in the lower abdomen. And now you're using the abdomen to squeeze the viscera downwards and more into the right hand fingertips. And if you're succeeding, what you'll feel is your right knee gets closer to the floor. That's a sign of success. The right knee drops a little bit. Now the other side. Is it possible to somehow direct that intra-abdominal pressure, the squeezing of the viscera, so that your left hand now gets pushed more than the right, and the left leg gets lowered a little closer to the floor? And then alternate, once the right side, once the left side. Just a quick question. Anybody here done any belly dancing? Any belly dancers in the room? None. Okay. You are? If you've ever seen a really skilled belly dancer, their abdominal control is amazing. Truly amazing. Leave it. Pause for a little bit. Lying horizontally, as you've been doing it, is kind of neutral, yes? Gravity is passing through you from the front through to the back. And so there's no predisposition for your viscera to go towards your pelvis or towards your chest. They're just kind of heading downwards towards the floor. Let's change that just quickly and explore the same idea. Could you come up to sitting? Lean on the floor behind you with your hands. Put the soles of your feet together, not too close, not too far. And I'll use bad language. Don't let your legs hang. Support them. And once again, could you squeeze your abdominal muscles as if you wanted to direct your viscera right down into your pelvis? So it's a little bit forward and a little bit downwards. Downwards being pelvis, floor. Could you use that manipulation of your abdomen to move your pelvis without pressing the hands at the back? Oh, you can lean on them. You can lean on them. Yeah. Oh, I've just been reminded it's 4:20. Okay. So keep doing what you're doing and I'll tell you a story. Keep doing what you're doing. Is it possible to take the pelvis towards 12 o'clock by pushing with your viscera? And then once with the right, once with the left, right knee close to the floor, left knee closer to the floor. So here's the story. You keep playing. And if you can build it up to sloshing, that would be good. So I'm not sure whether anybody did the calculations, but for some reason, Feldenkrais decided to record his lessons that he taught in Israel, which were taught in a basement, I do believe, in a building on a street called Alexander Yanai. Not a basement? Ground floor? Thank you. And this is what he'd do. And please let me know if I'm talking rubbish. He would get the first class in. He would record the lesson. Keep going, don't stop. He would record the lesson. When he'd record the lesson, the next group would come in, and they were pretty like clockwork lessons. 45 minutes, next group in. 45 minutes, next group in. 7 times one day, 7 groups. He would only teach the lesson once. The next group that would come in, he would play the audio tape. And then he would look at the group and he would try to see what instruction would he need to vary in case the group was not getting it or something was not clear. And as soon as he saw that something wasn't working, he'd stop the tape, rewind it a little bit, and then record over that section. And for the next group, he'd do the same. And for the next group, he'd do the same. So by the end of the day, he had this recording that was a continuous string of adjustments to different groups, trying as he was looking, oh, how can I improve the understanding? How can I make the steps smaller so they get it? And that's what we have now. 550 transcripts of lessons of that kind. We have nothing of the original. Well, they're gone. They were taped over. So there's no way that you can track how he made a change, what he decided to change, unless you knew him personally. And then you might be able to tell you, who knows. But that's not the case with you, because each time you teach a lesson, more or less of the same kind, you can track, oh, that group had difficulty with that. Next time I teach that lesson, maybe I'll try this. Or maybe I'll say it that way. Or I think I'll just get rid of that particular move and try it over here. And that's how we all develop. But you won't find that process by studying Feldenkrais. You'll only find that process by teaching yourself and talking with your colleagues. So how many of you achieved sloshiness? You do know that is a very particular quality in this Feldenkrais method, the not sequence, but sloshiness. Don't go out tonight and get sloshed. As I said, we'll come back to this. When you're tonight walking home, at dinner, if something comes to mind and you say to yourself, you know, what I did today, I liked it, but I think if I just change this, that might make a difference. The truth of the matter is you don't know whether it will and you don't know whether it won't. But you could try it out and you know that's your experiment. That's the nature of every teacher's dilemma. Will my class plan work or will my class plan keel over? And then am I flexible enough to do it differently next time or even adjust in the scenario? Okay. So that was 5 minutes worth. Walk up, stand up, walk around, see if it's made any difference. Now, before you go,